Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today is another exciting episode you've been waiting for. We're going to continue on with the 1980s Top 30 Showdown, okay? And this episode, we're going to continue with more of the analysis and the making of this comprehensive Top 30 list for the 1980s, okay? So, before I begin, I want to remind everyone to go down below, click like and subscribe, because it's going to take a few more episodes to go through all the titles there, and it's going to get pretty intense as the graph has shown in the past that there's more OVAs and movies and stuff near the end of the 80s, so it's going to get really challenging and tough to go through all the different OVAs. So definitely you want to make sure you are following those next episodes that are coming up. All right. So, and also. I've also made available the super thanks option. So if you really enjoy this particular episode or the series I'm doing, by all means you can thank me by hitting that button there and donating something towards the episode. Also, I do also have a subscription service available for the subscribers and supporters. I have also made a special set of episodes that are designed for those subscribers. So they'll content that I can't put on YouTube here. All this specialty sort of videos and that kind of stuff. Those are all available to subscribers. Okay, so it might be something that you want to check out as well. There, links are below. Okay, but in today's episode, we're going to go into more analysis and this building of this top 30 list. Okay. So again, obviously it's going to take several episodes to do. I started basically from the 1980s, and we're going to work forward. And basically, as I work forward, I'm going to do comparisons of all the current episodes that are on the year, and going to go and basically see where they slot in, and if they have a place in the top 30 for the 1980s. Okay, so again. If you want to, I have the links below for the previous episodes, as well as all the episodes which I did to get all the information and all the analysis to build my entire table of all the animes that are significant from the 1980s. Again, links below. You can go and look at the entire grand database of episodes I have available for that. All right, so do check that out. Okay, so without further delay, let's get into some analysis and let's get into this top 30 showdown. Okay, so we are going to continue on with the list that we have created from the previous episode. On the right here, we have the top 30 titles that we've so far gotten to from 1984, and of course on the right hand side we have the anime database that I've so far created. That uses all the titles on that. So we've already done from 1980 all the way to 1984. We scroll ahead and we're going to go to 1985, and that's where we'll begin adding the titles to this top 30 list here. Okay, so let's begin with that entry. Now, again, we'll begin with the TV shows, and you can just see by the list here in blue that there's a lot more OVAs and movies than there are TV shows. But hey, that's I'll add to the complexity for this episode. So for TV shows, okay, really easily here, we'll just list off the titles, and then we'll see what we need to eliminate off of the top 30 list to accommodate these titles, and then I'll go over why. All right, so we have as newcomers for 1985, we have Zeta Gundam. We have Touch, which is the baseball show. Dan Cougar, one of my personal favorites. The Dirty Pair TV series, which is really nice. And Magical Emmy, another one of the Magical Girls shows. Last season also we have SPT Laser, another really good one there. Toby Kage, High School Kumagumi, and Gege no Kataro. Okay, so those are the TV series that we'll add on to the bottom of the list here, and then we'll see how and what they'll fit in. Now, OVAs are already pretty empty, right? We only have 8 so far. So these ones will pretty much just get added to the bottom of the list, and then we'll see how that fits on there, okay? So, again, 1985 was also really a good year for a lot of new OVAs. There's a really big sudden jump in the number of OVAs that came out in '85, and I think this is sort of like the really beginning of the OVA revolution, as it were. Okay, so we've got some really good titles here. We have Megazone 23, we have Area 88, we have Yoko Leda, we have Nora Greed, Vifam the OVA, so the continuation of the Vifam TV series. We have the Orgus Memorial, which is the sort of the summary episodes for the Superdimensional Century Orgus. We have the Creamy Mami Long Goodbye OVA, also based off of the TV series Creamy Mami. We have the Votum's OVAs. We have Urasura Atsura, the OVAs, also follow up for the movies again. Cosmo Police Justy, really nice one there. Fandora, the Minky Momo OVAs. We have Mospita Love Live and Alive, which of course is the concert sort of video, the Yellow Dancer, if you will. We have some more Votum's OVAs, the Vifam OVAs. We have something called Angel's Egg, which is really big. Again, the creator of Vampire Hunter D. Ixir 1, Dream Hunter Rem, Fire Tripper, so another one of the first of the Rumik World series from Rumiko Takahashi. We have the Dirty Pair OVA, Nalandia Fair. So again, in conjunction with the TV series, we have the new sort of OVA for that as well. We also have the Orange Road Jump Special. So again, the probing things to find out when that Orange Road might be a good series to release. And we also have Rock Me Nora, which is more or less a big music video, and Bobby Stock, which is bike racing. Okay, so that would be the OVAs. We're going to add those onto the OVA list. And then we got also the movies. Okay, so a couple movies here. We have the third release of the Urusei Yatsura movies. We have something called Dagger of Kamui. That was really kind of a cool one at the time it came out. We have Bobbies. Okay, so that's kind of what came out. The Way to Virgin Space. We have Legend of the Three Kingdoms. Goshigan Time a Stranger. We have the Delos special, the Lupin the Third Babylon, and Odin the Starlight Voyage. We have the Area 88 movie, which is, I guess, more or less the compilation of the Area 88 OVAs. We have Vampire Hunter D, as mentioned, also the same guy who made the Angel's Egg in the OVA section, and the Captain Tsubasa J movie. Alright, so now we're going to have all these entries. We're going to add those into the database, and let's see what needs to be eliminated once they, or needs to come in to maintain the top 30 titles. Okay, so we're going to go back to the list of TV episodes, and I'm going to go through on the list and see right away the titles that really stick out right away for me is Zeta Gundam, Dan Cougar, Dirty Pair, and SPT Lazenar. Those are probably the key titles to see in 1985. So okay, let's see where they're gonna fit in this sort of thing that we got here. Okay, let's see. If I had to put those ones in here in substitution for all of these other shows, I would have to go Time Boken. We would probably have to remove Go Shogun, Back Singer, and Creamy Mommy. So those are the four that I'd probably remove. No. Why obviously? Because obviously, in the era of, giant robots, essentially, attacking the Earth and that kind of stuff, that's essentially what Dan Cougar is, right? In SP Lazenar, oh no, we're getting invaded by aliens again. They're, kicking our butt. And for some strange reason, the only thing that can save us is this machine that the main character can pilot, and they manage to to beat off the aliens, and there we go. So that's essentially Dan Cougar and SP Lazenar. Zeta Gundam, of course, is the continuation of the Gundam saga, which from 1978, 79. was long awaited. So definitely, that was definitely, again, character design and stuff. Get heavy metal Elgime and that kind of stuff. Just sort of kind of continues on. So that that's sort of the linking trend there. So a lot of those sort of things, and of course, the staple, of course, of a lot of this new era is, of course, the dirty pair, right? Girls, guns, and gore. The three G's I always refer to. That that basically defined a lot of the beginning of the OVA era. Okay, so as long as you basically had any of those three elements, you pretty much had a good OVA going on there. The titles picked here basically, as you can see there, for Taiboka and Goshigan and Backsinger. And if I even go on further on the list, Ideon and let's say God Mars, okay, they're all essentially giant robot shows with the team of guys, and they're fighting their battles, that kind of stuff and whatnot. Really no different than, let's say, for example, Dan Cougar and SPD Laser, right? But I think the thing that sort of was the disadvantage of these particular shows is that by the time people got to them, especially things like Taibo Ken, Backsinger, and even Goshigan, right? They had the disadvantage of coming out maybe like too early. Okay, and what I mean by that is that because these shows were released in the earlier part of the 80's, before the quote the VCR era, distribution of these episodes were very, very tough. And even when we got to the Laserdisc era, so when they started making Laserdiscs for these particular shows and whatnot, other shows that already sort of were a little more modern, maybe had a little bit more fan appeal because they were actually came in later into the VCR era. More people were more familiar with them, right? So they really suffered from that particular point of view. And again, at this point, things like Dan Cougar, SP Lazinar, Backsinger, Goshigan, Taimboken, Ideon, they all had no translation. So I mean, not to say that I didn't get episodes of, I had like an entire series of Goshigan and like a whole pile of Backsinger. I think I had the whole series for God Mars as well. In the same thing. Ideon, same thing. I had pretty much like the entire series of Ideon, all in straight Japanese. But the major problem with that is that even when the Laserdiscs came out, nobody took the initiative to fan sub them, and even when I got them, I had better shows that I wanted to get translated. For example, SPD Lazinar, Dan Cougar, G Gundam, Double Zeta Gundam, and even in that sort of realm, I would have loved to do Dunbine, but fortunately Dunbine was already done, so that worked out really well. Heavy Metal Elgime was another project that we fan subbed. So those type of series took priority over these kind of titles, again, just because I think the fandom was more absorbing of those particular titles just for the show that they were. Again, I think age had something to do with that, right? So that's why I've got them these newer titles replacing those ones there for that particular reason, distribution wise and the fan response of them. The last title, of course, is Kirimami. Again, artwork is and the character design by Akimi Takada. One of my favorite ones for Orange Road and that kind of stuff. And you just see just great quality covers and that kind of stuff and artwork. Done in that very nice Akimi Takada sort of waterwork design. But again, this show, I think, again, suffers from the same reason that the concept of the magical girl show hasn't quite hit us yet, right? Because there was a lot of these sort of magical girls, like just like I had earlier with Pastel Pasha and then probably later on with Magical Emmy, Fashion Lala, things like that. all were just a little bit too early for the for the anime community to really accept these sort of magical girl shows. Sure, later on when the Sailor Moon Revolution came in, we had a Revolutionary Girl Utena, Miracle Girls, Himi-chan's Ribbon, Red Riding Hood Cha-Cha, Nurse Angel Lyrica, things like that. All magical girl shows that I fan subbed and did that and basically brought a lot of popularity to the North American market on that kind of stuff. So again, this is probably one of those titles that probably suffered from just being a little bit too early in its release, and other things just sort of came and overshadowed it at the time. Even when the Kirimami LD box set came out, all these other sort of magical girl shows sort of came out that had a better and more modern sort of appeal to them. I.e. referring to things like Miracle Girls, Red Ring of Cha-Cha, Himi-chan's Ribbon, things like that. Okay, so for that reason, we're gonna put that on the list to replace those. So we have Gundam, Zeta Gundam, Dan Cougar, Dirty Pair, and Laser replacing Time Boken, Goshogun, Backsinger, and Kirimami in the top 30. Okay, so we're going down to the remaining titles in the TV list. We have Touch, Magical Emmy, Tobi Kage, High School Kimigumi, and Gege no Kitaro. I'm going to put these all into the will not make it to the top 30 list, and just because once you picked all the big four out of the list, these ones won't rank. And basically, I'll go through them really quickly here. Touch obviously is the TV series based on a baseball love story type of thing. I've always had a trouble with the art style on this one, and I've never really liked these baseball love stories. Whether or not it is, Touch, Nine, Miyuki, things like this. Just no, none of them really triggered me, and I would not say it. Again, I think it's the way that the people traded them and that kind of stuff also pretty reflects that, and the fact that it never got fan subbed by anybody else. It just really didn't hit the market over here, especially for it's a love story type of stuff. Even though it has baseball kind of as the back theme, but I find that a lot of sports shows just didn't really resonate for a long time. At least in the early ages, the sports kind of animes just didn't click in. Magical Emmy, as already discussed, the magical girl shows like Creamy Mommy and Magical Emmy just just a little bit too early for their time. High School Kimigumi and Gege no Kitaro again lacks from the fact that just nobody bothered translating it, and just nobody wanted to watch that kind of a show, especially when there's all this other better anime out there that has translation that people can people can watch. And just looking at all the other the top TV series out there, that's a pretty these are easy choices to basically make it so that these just will not make the list at all. Tobi Kage, that was a personal favorite of mine, just because I always wanted to get episodes of that, and the concept was kind of cool, almost Power Ranger-ish, almost, because with ninjas with a giant robot type of thing. I suppose they kind of did that with Neo Graduation or something like that, again, I think that anime suffers from age, and again, also probably suffers from the fact that they just never had anybody work or do translations of that. I remember I did have close to the entire series of that series. Quality is really, really horrible, and again, no English translation at the time I got it. And again, that quickly gets passed over for other animes that were coming out that were that did have more ready appeal, and had the ability of translations and that kind of stuff as time went on. So that was sort of also the same downfall for Tobi Kage. So again, the rest of the TV series will not be added. All right, so we're gonna finish the TV series now. We'll go with the OVA series. Okay, now the OVAs, there's still not 30 of them, so no problem. We just add all the ones that we have on the list to the list, and well, all of the issues are going to be a next episode where we go into 1986. That's going to be a big problem because I can look at the graph here, and 85 we had a big jump between 3 OVAs in 84 down to 25 OVAs in 85. So we just like humongous jump in the number of OVAs. But of course that filled in the entire list. So that's no big deal. 7 movies to 12 movies from 84 to 85. So no big deal. But when we go from 85 to 86, we will have 31 OVAs, new OVAs in 86. Okay, so just like the entire top 30, okay, could theoretically change with those 31 new OVAs in 86. And we have 24 movies as well. So double the number of movies coming up in 86. So the next episode is going to be intense, I'll tell you. Okay, but let's deal with this episode where we have the movies for 1985. Okay, so looking at the movies, again, I'll go through the list and I'll sort of pick out the ones that immediately stand out and should be included. I would have to say that would be Dagger, Kamui, and Vampire Hunter D. I mean, mono work. That's the key one right there. Vampire Hunter D. Again, he did the works for Angel Egg, and of course he'll later on do the character design for some of the Final Fantasies. So definitely that's got to be a good one there. Dagger Kamui, of course, next to like Yoto Den, that was your pivotal, medieval, Japanese era type of stuff. Well, I'm sure we'll get Kenshin and that kind of stuff later on, but that's those are the two I'd say have to go into the list. And so if I'm going down the list now and looking for 2 spots to put them into, I would probably get rid of 9 and Patiro. Yeah, probably 9 and Patiro would be the 2 that would get eliminated in those ones. Again, 9 being the baseball love story. Again, sports shows at this particular time really has virtually no interest. And Patiro, the artwork is so horrible in that one. It's just it wouldn't surprise me. Just like a cultural show as well as not a really great art design with no translation. Just that has all the 3 strikes going against it. So in comparison to something as good as the D and Dagger Kamui, they can't be missed. So so those 2, swap those 2 out for Dagger and Kamui and for Vampire D. Apply those. I will apply Urusetsura 3 in the category of combining. So Urusetsura movie 1, 2 is already on the list. So I'll add Vampire Urusetsura number 3 to that list. So now we have that combination. So that's okay. I mentioned earlier that I had eliminated Goshigun and Lupin III for the reason that people tend to at this time watch or know more about the movie Goshigun and Lupin III as a movie rather than a TV series. So I'm going to put these 2 into the list with that in mind. If that's the case, then I am going to eliminate Hinatori 2772 and the Dugram movie. Okay, so Dugram movie, of course, is based off of the previous TV series of Dugram, and of course Hinatori 2779. It's the story of the Firebird. Okay, more modern space story. I mean, people did exchange it, and I did have a copy of that. There was no translation for that at that time, but it was still a fairly alright movie. But again, because Goshigun and Lupin, those are some very common staples in the early anime conventions and that kind of stuff. You know, I would have to say that those ones, should belong into the list over the Hinata. Although it's probably a close, it's probably a close battle between that one there. But I would definitely put Goshion Lupin the Third in this list. I would immediately eliminate two other ones, Area 88 and Captain Tsubasa J, because Area 88, obviously the movie was created from the Area 88 OEVAs, and I've listed Area 88 in the OEVA section, so I'll probably update that to say Area 88 1, 2, and 3, or Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And then you consider that. So I guess in many ways you could say that's the same sort of situation if I had Macross plus OEVA 1, 2, and 3, 4, instead of just saying Macross plus the movie, right? So just kind of that sort of same thing, even though they maybe have added a couple scenes here and there. But, I'll list it under the OEVA section for that particular reason. And then the last part would be the titles that does not make the cut. I would definitely have to say, using this list here, Bobby's Way to Virgin Space, Legend of the Three Kingdoms, Delos the Special, and Odin the Starlight. Now again, Way to Virgin Space and Odin the Starlight were, very, nice science fiction like type shows. But, again, I think I'm at that point where I could try to shove them in, but I know that I've got another 24 new movies coming in '86 that I'm sure that if I did shove them in, they're going to get eliminated anyway. So I'm going to just save myself the headache of not trying to bother doing that, because these probably won't make the cut after this next year. Likewise, Bobby's, when you get into these sort of relationship shows, again at this time and era, especially without translation, again won't make the cut. Legend of the Three Kingdoms is probably the only one that had probably the most possibility. There's a lot of video games that kind of use that kind of storyline and that kind of stuff. Again, I think artwork and a little bit of just not having translations and that kind of stuff, and not having people to work on it. That was probably a little downfall there, especially in light that there are other stuff, even in this same year, that were more important, had better better influence. We're more interested in the topic, because of course you got to think of things that would probably interest people. Obviously things like sci-fi, things like the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the superpowers and that kind of stuff are tend to be things that have more have more popularity, have more influence, as opposed to things that are historical. Okay, now sure, I picked Dagger Kumuli because again, when you think historical Japanese, historical Chinese, because this is Japanese animation, people tend to gravitate towards that thing, and that's this entire notion of feudal Japan was still a pretty new sort of concept, right? So, but definitely, I definitely would pick Dagger Kumuli over Legend of the Three Kingdoms in this sense for that. Okay, so that will tie up 1985. It was kind of tough, but I'm sure the difficulty will increase when I hit the 86. So definitely, it's gonna be a fun episode next one, that's for sure. So we're getting further and further on this, and again, we're gonna have to continue this on the next episode. The competition is gonna get pretty intense, and it's gonna get tougher and tougher to decide what stays and what goes. So again, I hope you will join me in the next episode. Don't forget to click like and click subscribe, and make sure that your notifications are on, because then when I release that episode, then you'll know when to watch it and continue on with this series. All right. So until next time, I will see you again.